Hello all, good morning. Welcome to another video from Network Academy Online. My name is Norman Phillips and I'll be your instructor for today. In today's lesson, we'll be looking at configuring dynamic routing, and we'll be using the somewhat unused routing protocol, RIP, Routing Information Protocol. So we will eventually get to labs. We'll be using more popular routing protocols like EIGRP, OSPF, BGP, etc. But as we walk through this learning process, we'll be using RIP to configure routing in this video. In previous videos, leveraging the same topology that we have presented here, we have configured routing, and we actually configured routing using the manual process, that is static routing. And if you go back and look at previous videos, we were able to ping from PC1 over to PC2 with no issues at all after we have configured our static routes and router 1, router 2, 3, 4, etc. So I have removed those routings, and as a result of that, we're going to go in right now and we're going to take a look. If I were to try to ping from PC1, which is where I'm sitting on right now, over to PC2, we'll realize that we're not able to get there. And that's a result of, there's no routing. So you see the destination host unreachable. When we see this arrow, it simply means that our default gateway does not have any information to get to our destination network. And we could hop on to router 1 and we could take a look at that. If we're to hop on to router 1 here, let's log in our password that we've configured previously, this class, and show IP route. Notice there is no gateway of last resort, that is no default route, and it doesn't know about getting to 192.168.4.0 network, right? So if we look here, there's absolutely nothing in the routing table that's telling us how to get there. So previously, when we configured this lab, we went in and we manually told router 1 how to get to 192.168.4 network, and that is, hey, Mr. Router 1, what I need for you to do, if you're trying to get to 192.168.4.0 network, drop it off to your next hop router of router 2, or you could drop it off to your next hop router of router 3. And that is where we use our different matrix to control the path that we want to be preferred. All right, so in this case, what we're going to do is use dynamic routing to configure all routers. Right. So to do that, we go into the global config mode, and we're going to say router RIP. That's what we're trying to configure. We're going to configure router RIP with version 2, and we're just going to, let's take a look, IP interface brief. By the way, we're using version 2. Version 1, when it sends routing update, it does not include the subnet mask information. With version 2, when we send routing update, the subnet mask information is included. Therefore, it supports classless routing, right? So what we're going to do here, we're just going to advertise the network that we want to participate. So in this case, we're going to go network 192.168.12.0 and 13.0. Network 192.168.1.0. So we're advertising the networks that we want to participate in the routing process. We could do show run, and when we do show run, what it does, it will give us an oversight of the network that we have advertised. So notice we're advertising 192.168.1.0 into RIP, 192.168.12.0 into RIP, 192.13.0. Again, these are the point-to-points that are connecting from router 1 to router 2, router 2 to router 3. and we're also advertising the LAN, right? And that's pretty much all we have to do on router 1. On router 2, we go over to router 2 and we do the same thing, but all we're doing is advertising the network that are directly connected to that router. If you remember when we did static routes, right? Look at what we had to do. We had to go on router 2 and we had to tell router 2, hey, to get to Mr. Router 2, if you want to get to 192.168, let me see if I could do some drawing here for you. So what we did, if we wanted to get to 192.168.1.0 from router 2, right? We had to tell router 2, you need to drop it off to router 1. And also, if we wanted to get to, I'm sorry guys, let me just undo this. Where's my magic eraser? Undo. All right, let's try again. All right, so if, hey, Mr. Router 2, if I want to get from 192 to, if I want to get to 192.168.1.0 from router 2, I had to put a static route on router 2 to point to router 1. And also, if I wanted to get to 192.168 4.0, I have to put on router 1 a next hop route that's going to send it up to router 2, right? That's when you're using the static routes. And subsequently, I'd have to do it on router 2. I have to also specify to get to 192.168 4.10, I have to drop it off down to router 4. If you notice with dynamic routing, I don't have to do that because all I'm doing is I'm just advertising the routes or the networks that are directly connected to the router, and it will tell its neighbor about these routes, right? And the neighbors will also tell the neighboring router about the routes that it knows. All right. So let me go back and clear all here, and so let's go ahead and do this on router 2. So on router 2, we'll go router RIP. We'll advertise network 192.168.12.0, and we're also going to advertise 192.168.24.0. All right, and we're going to say version 2 because we want the subnet mask to be advertised with it. So now if I were to do this, show IP route, looky here. Now we are seeing that we are learning routes, and look at the notation here, guys. Let me go back and do the show run again. We are learning routes. We're learning about the 192.168.1.0 network, which is the network that's on the LAN that PC1 is connected to. And look at what it's showing us here. It's showing us that it's learning that by way of RIP. Let me get my pointy stuff here. So we're seeing that this network, look at this network right here as I draw. This network right here is the network that I have here on the LAN, right? And it's saying that I'm learning this by way of 192.168.12.1, which is the IP address that I have configured here on this router, right? So R2 is learning that, and R2 is also learning 192.168.13.0, which is the network that's here. However, because the local interface is connected to router 1, and I advertise that into the RIP routing process, router 2 is now learning about that. Notice, how do we know it's learned by RIP? The R denotes that. So if you look in this section up here, any route that you see in the routing table with an R, it means that it's learned by RIP. Any route that's denoted with 0 or O, it's learned from OSPF, so on and so forth. We will be working through these. All right, so that helps us to see there exactly what's going on. All right, so we have, so to look at our config, we do show run. ensure that all the networks that we'd like to advertise are in there, and we're good to go. I like to save my work, and I'm going to go over to router 4. And with me going over to router 4, I'm going to do the same thing here. And by the way, guys, I expect you to work through this lab because watching and doing are totally different. All right, so it is my expectation that you will build this lab. You already have the topology. And if you don't have the topology, I'll provide a link for you to be able to download the topology from, where you'll be able to work through these labs, right? So again, we're going to do router RIP version 2. The networks that I'm going to advertise are the 3 networks that are connected directly to router 4, and that is network is 192.168.24.0, network 192.168.4.0. That's a network on the LAN, and 192.168.34.0, and we are finished. And if you go here and take a look, show IP route, you'd have seen all the routes coming from the LAN that PC1 is connected to all the way over. Look, now we're seeing that it's learning this from 192.168.24.2, right? So router 2, which is router 2 learns it from router 1, and router 2 is teaching this to router 4. So router 4 is learning the network from router 2, right? And we can see the R that's telling us that we're learning our routes through RIP. And we will go over this side here, and we're going to take a look at router 3. And we're saying router RIP version 2 network. We're advertising the networks that are directly connected so that the routes can be learned. And we're going to also advertise 192.168.13.0, and we should be good. Again, we'll take a look at the routing table, show IP route. All right, let me just make sure that we have everything in here. All right, and the routes just popped in. Right, so now we can see our full routing table across all routers. We're going to go into our PC and we're going to try to make that famous ping. So again, this ping did not work because it started barking at us to say, hey, my default gateway doesn't know anything about 192.168.4.0 network. So let's go back and do the up arrow and try that same ping. All right, so as we can see there, it takes a time for ARP to chip in, and once ARP did its thing, we were able to ping. So we're able to ping from PC1 over to PC2, and if we go to PC2, we should be able to ping to PC1, of course, we know that. Ping 192.168.1.10. We're getting to ping, and I think we should be able to also connect to our router. SSH. I'm not sure if I did SSH before. That was configured in the previous lab. So SSH minus L, and we're going to say admin. Try to connect to the router 192.168.1.1. And there you go. The password is Cisco. Let me try again. I think it's Cisco. Oops. Yes, and enable password. Okay, so we see that all our devices on our network are reachable. We did not have to go in and put line by line the static routes that we did in our previous videos. And we learned to walk through the process of configuring RIP version 2. I hope you enjoy this video, and I hope you come back to see more video as we continue to post. Please feel free to get in the blog section and start a discussion. And if you do have any questions and or concerns, please do not hesitate to drop us a line. Thank you.